Hello and welcome and happy spring. So today we're going to be doing part 2 of a series that I started last week. You may recall that I shared with you 31 fragrances representing 31 brands within my fragrance collection where I have 5 or more bottles by brand. But today I'm going to be sharing with you 54 fragrances representing 54 brands that I have in my collection where I have less than 5 bottles by brand. I'm going to be moving rather quickly because I have quite a number of fragrances to share with you and we don't want to be here all day. If there's a fragrance that you're interested in me doing a detailed review on, then please let me know in the comments section and I will be sure to include it in a future video. But before we jump right in, if this is your first time here, I'm Arahi, and in this channel we love to talk about fragrances because we love to smell fabulous at all times. I upload videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, and sometimes you even get a bonus video for the week. If that sounds like the type of content that you're interested in and like a good plan, then please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave a comment. Let's go. So the first fragrance that I want to share with you today is from a brand that I absolutely love, and that is quite known for their beautiful shoes. And I'm speaking about Christian Louboutin, and this is Luby Horse. Oh my goodness, this fragrance, I wanted to open with this fragrance because I don't hear people talk about this fragrance much, and this is just a beauty for spring. So this is the kind of fragrance that you could get away with using it all year, but I absolutely love it and pull it quite a bit for spring. It is perfection. It opens with quite a bit of vanilla combined with some beautiful citrus notes. It is fresh, spicy, a bit powdery, and a little bit sweet, but not too much. And look at this bottle. It is just a beauty. Look at that little seahorse. This is a fragrance that you can dress down or you can dress up, and you can use it for any occasion, day and night. But I really believe it is perfect for the spring season. The next fragrance that I want to share with you is a designer fragrance. And this fragrance is a flanker from a fragrance that many people love. And I'm speaking about Valentino Donna Born in Roma Pink PP. Now this was a limited edition fragrance, and I almost didn't bring it to today's video, but I had to because out of all of my Valentino fragrances, this one is definitely my favorite, followed by their most recent launch, which is Green Stravaganza. But for spring, I think this is just perfection. This is, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. This is like pink in a bottle, truly. It has quite a bit of vanilla. It also has some citrusy notes. It's definitely sweet, not too sweet, but it's definitely sweet. And it has the most beautiful powdery dry down. It is just perfection for the spring season. The next fragrance that I want to share with you is one that I'm not going to talk too much about because I actually have a dedicated review for this fragrance here on the channel. And I will link it for you right above here. But I had to bring it because this is definitely one of those fragrances that I just can't get enough of. And I highly recommend it. If you have this fragrance, please let me know in the comments box. But I'm speaking about Brunello Cucinelli Perfume. This fragrance, guys, oh my goodness, this is definitely elegance and sophistication and like an air of chic and just beautiful in a bottle. I absolutely love this fragrance. This is also one that will get you so many compliments. It's fresh, spicy, aromatic with a little bit of woodiness and some beautiful citrus notes. This is one that you just really can't go wrong with. And you can dress it down, you can dress it up, any occasion, day or night. perfect for spring. The next fragrance is from a fragrance house that has been around for quite a while. But this fragrance house is quite respected and esteemed. I think this fragrance is perfect for the spring season, even though it has a note of banana. And in this fragrance, that note is quite dominant. You're going to get banana from the moment you spray it all the way to dry down, and as long as you're wearing this fragrance. And I am speaking about L'Artisan Parfumeur, and this is Bana Banana. This fragrance, guys, if you are looking for a fragrance with a beautiful banana note, this is your fragrance. You must get your nose on it. The banana here is so realistic. It's a ripe and beautifully sweet banana, but this is such a well-blended and very balanced kind of fragrance. I absolutely love it. And you may wonder, well, Arahi, banana, shouldn't that be more for summer? Believe it or not, I really think that this is actually perfect for spring, even more than summer. But of course, you can get away with using it anytime you like. But I really think this is perfection for spring. And one thing I do want to share with you, if you are an iris or violet fragrances lover, this is a fragrance that you're absolutely going to love, because that note of banana combined with the violet and the iris, oh my goodness, I don't know how they did it, but it is quite spectacular. I tell you, perfection for spring. If you have this fragrance, please let me know in the comments section. This next fragrance is from a brand that I consider to be quite sophisticated. I do have several of their fragrances, and I absolutely love each one. But this next one is perfection for spring. And I am talking about Lang Lang Nosy Bee from Paris, Monte Carlo. This fragrance is such a beautiful yellow floral fragrance. Obviously, Lang Lang is a yellow floral, and you may think just from hearing the name of the fragrance that it's going to be just about Lang Lang, but it's not. There's such a beautiful combination of yellow florals here. Obviously, Lang Lang is the star of the picture amongst those yellow florals, but you can clearly pick up on all the other yellow florals involved in the fragrance. In addition to the yellow florals, there's some white florals in the fragrance too. It is a bit sweet. It has some beautiful citrus notes. It has a good amount of vanilla, but the vanilla is never dominant in any stage of the olfactory journey, nor at dry down. And at dry down, you get those beautiful yellow florals sitting on a beautiful background of like a powdery, bordering on woody kind of scent. It is just a delight and perfection for spring. The next fragrance that I want to share with you is from a fragrance house that I absolutely love because they are so creative in the way that they design their fragrances, the name of the fragrance, as well as the notes. And I'm speaking about Carner Barcelona, and this one is Tardes. Now, tardes in Spanish means afternoon, and you may wonder, well, is this a fragrance that you can only use in the afternoons, or what is it about the afternoons? Curiously enough for me, this is a fragrance that is perfect for like a morning and afternoon occasion during the spring season. This is not a fragrance that I would use for date night during the spring season or for any evening or night occasion. But this is definitely one that is absolutely exquisitely beautiful for any occasion during the day and early afternoon, like maybe until about 4 o'clock. When I tell you this smells heavenly, there is like a backdrop of nuttiness to the fragrance because it opens with quite a bit of vanilla. It is a bit sweet, and then there's some fruitiness. It's aromatic, floral, and has a musk base. But this fragrance is absolutely delightful, and I know you would love it for spring. So this next fragrance is from a fragrance house that I just added it to my collection probably about 2 years ago. But I am in love with several of their fragrances, and it just so happens that my favorite Lactonic fragrance is from this fragrance house. And no, I'm not speaking about Bianco Latte because I love Bianco Latte and we have been discussing Bianco Latte quite a bit lately. But it just so happens, like I said, that that is not my favorite lactonic fragrance. This next one is definitely my favorite, but it is one that I reserve for the spring season. And I am speaking about Etat Libre d'Orange, and this is Ghost in the Shell. Oh my goodness. If you are into lactonic fragrances, this is your best friend. Trust me when I tell you that the lactonic note here, has been done so beautifully. It is like perfection for the spring season because for spring and even for summer, you don't want a lactonic fragrance that's going to be a little bit too much. And I really find that Bianco Latte is perfection for all seasons except spring and summer. And I will use Bianco Latte during the spring season on cooler days, but I don't think I would ever pull it for a summer day. But this one, there's a lightness to it and a smoothness, and that lactonic note has been done so beautifully. This is perfection for spring. This next fragrance is from a fragrance house that I absolutely love. I don't have 5 of their bottles, but I definitely have 4. And this one that I'm going to share with you is one that you can use any season of the year. But for some reason, I love to kind of save it, especially for the spring season, because I feel that it is just such a glorious fragrance. And this fragrance is a powerhouse. And I am speaking about Maison Crivelli's Hibiscus Mahajad. This fragrance is exquisite, guys. You just can't go wrong. But for me, all of the fragrances from this fragrance house are so exquisitely done. It's like the quality of the ingredients, the longevity, everything is just top notch. And this one does not disappoint at all. This one is perfect for any occasion, day or night. Doesn't matter what temperature you're having during that spring day. I think this fragrance is beautiful. This next fragrance is part of a very expansive collection, and I am speaking about Narciso Rodriguez Flor Musk. Now, I know that there's so many people that feel a certain kind of way about this entire collection. I actually have about, I think, 3 or 4 bottles just from this line from Narciso. But this one is my favorite. To me, this is the perfect combination of a rose, a musky rose, and that violet. Oh my goodness. The way that he's done this. And what I love about Narciso's fragrances is that they are so smooth. There's nothing screechy or out of place or out of tone with his fragrances. They are really smooth and beautiful. And I think that honestly, this is perfection for spring. The next fragrance is a fragrance that is very special. It is my favorite green fragrance, but I have to warn you that this fragrance is not for everybody. And this fragrance really requires you to truly love a green fragrance. But you also have to enjoy the DNA and incredible creativity of the fragrance house that actually designed and released this fragrance. And I am speaking about Frederic Malle's Synthetic Jungle. Oh my goodness, guys, this fragrance, if you've ever, this is incredible. This is such a unique fragrance. But I have to tell you, you have to absolutely love a green fragrance, because every type of green note that you could possibly imagine is in this fragrance. And the funny part about it is that the name of the fragrance is Synthetic Jungle. And although like all the greens smell quite natural, there's also like a synthetic quality to the fragrance. It's just really interesting. It's like on the one hand, it is so green and fresh, spicy and aromatic and with some white florals. And then on the other end, you get this like very loud greenness that borders on synthetic. But all in all, and like most Frederic Malle fragrances, in the end, there is such a balance that you end up falling in love with it. And when I first picked up this fragrance, I picked up this small bottle because, I've become very familiar with Frederic Malle fragrances, and they're not always easy to really adopt to and to really fall in love with. But with this one, the first moment that I smelled it, I struggled. But by the third time I actually wore this fragrance, I was in love. But this is a fragrance that typically I only pull during the spring season. But once spring is approaching, I'm almost looking forward to being able to use this fragrance. This next fragrance is a fragrance that I absolutely love, and it is truly a rose fragrance. But this is not your ordinary, regular, I've seen this before type of rose fragrance. This is just so glorious and so different. So if you are a rose lover, you may want to consider taking a look at Matière Première Radical Rose. This fragrance opens with a ton of rose. And I've always believed that it's not just one kind of rose. It's like there's a mature rose, there is a young and fresh rose in here, and there's different types of roses here. I just really don't think this is a linear rose type of fragrance at all. This is warm, spicy, there's a little bit of woodiness, there's a good bit of patchouli here, and there is an ongoing earthy quality to it that gives this fragrance total edge and makes it completely different than any other rose in my collection. The next fragrance that I want to share with you is from a fragrance house that people absolutely love, and I love it too. Their fragrances are known for their longevity and for being quite intense, and I'm speaking about Montal's Rose Elixir. Perfection for spring. The next fragrance that I want to share with you, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on because I have a dedicated video for this fragrance house, and I will link it right above here for you. But this fragrance house is very special to me. I'm absolutely in love with their DNA, and this fragrance, oh my goodness, is true perfection for spring. And I am speaking about Mind Games Sans Voir. Oh boy, now this fragrance. Whew. This is let's open spring. Let's welcome spring. Oh my goodness. So this fragrance has a beautiful note of grapefruit, and then it has some freesia, and then at the base it brings in the Palo Santo. So those are the dominant notes to my nose, but of course there's other notes. And all in the backdrop, there's like this little hint of incense, which gives it kind of like a mysterious quality. It is such a beautiful, bright fragrance, but also with like character and depth. I absolutely love it and recommend it for spring. The next fragrance is one that I'm not going to spend much time on at all because I've actually featured this fragrance here on the channel several times in several videos because I'm absolutely obsessed with it. And it just so happens that now we're in the season where I think this is perfection. And I'm speaking about Floricoux Paris, and this is Cricket Song. The next fragrance that I want to share with you is one that I've also discussed here on the channel several times, so I'm just going to go quickly through it. But it is from one of those brands that I absolutely love, and I am speaking about Ex Nihilo's Fleur Narcotique. This is a fragrance that, guys, this is the epitome of spring in a bottle. Like, when spring comes, this is to me a fragrance to automatically pull. And what I love about this fragrance is that layering with this fragrance is such a delight. You can basically layer this fragrance with just about anything. I've tried so many different combinations and it's always a success. This becomes like the underlying, like beautiful, smooth scent, while the other fragrance or fragrances that I layer it with just blend in seamlessly with this beautiful fragrance. This next fragrance that I'm going to share with you is for my fruity fragrances lovers. But the beauty of this fragrance is that there's a twist, courtesy of the note of Iris. And when I tell you this fragrance is an absolute delight to wear, you are going to get noticed with this fragrance because it is just so unique. The other thing that I love about this fragrance is within its fruity structure, it has one of my favorite notes, which is passion fruit. It has like passion fruit and blood orange and black currant. It is just an incredible fragrance. And then it also has some vanilla and some musk. And at the base, it also has some sandalwood, which gives it like a creamy quality. But this fragrance is, when I tell you, perfection for spring. And I'm speaking about Narcotica's Narco Oasis. Absolutely incredible for spring. This next one is also for all my fruity fragrances lovers. And although they don't disclaim it, I tell you, every time I sniff this fragrance, I can clearly pick up on the note of pineapple. But it is not disclosed in the notes. And I am speaking about Kajal's Almaz. This fragrance is delightful for spring. It is such an incredibly beautiful fruity fragrance. It is quite sweet, not cloying or obnoxious in any way, but it is quite sweet. So you must like sweet fragrances. But when I tell you, oh my goodness, there's some black currant here. I clearly pick up on pineapple, even though they did not disclose it like I said before, but I clearly get it. This is floral, aromatic, soft, spicy, just a beautiful spring fragrance. The next fragrance that I want to share with you is from a fragrance house that I talk about quite a bit on this channel. And lately we've all been talking about this fragrance house quite a bit. And I'm speaking about Giardini di Toscana, and this one is Shabby Chic. Now I know that I spoke about this fragrance recently in some video. I know that I have, so I'm just going to keep on going. But all I can tell you is that this is perfection for spring. Of all of the Giardini di Toscana fragrances that I either own or that I've had decants of, which is quite a number of them because I do love their DNA, this one to me is perfection for spring. And then there's another one that when I do this video for the summer, I will be sharing with you, which for me is perfect for summer. But Shabby Chic, spring in a bottle. So this next fragrance is a fragrance that we've all fragrance lovers seem to talk about this brand and this fragrance specifically. There's a couple of fragrances that people absolutely love, but I happen to think that this one is perfection for spring. And I'm speaking about Tamin's Blue Heart. This fragrance, guys, so some people may say, well, why not Peregrina? And I think Peregrina is beautiful. And I also have that one, but I just think that this one is perfection for spring. This is such a beautiful fragrance that will transition you from the cold months into spring and from spring into summer. This fragrance opens with a ton, oh my goodness, a ton of vanilla. It is sweet. It is warm, spicy. There's a beautiful earthy quality to it that just grounds the fragrance and the sweetness of it. And for those iris lovers out there, there's definitely an iris note in this fragrance that you will enjoy. And what I really love about this fragrance is that the creativity had no limits, because in addition to all those wonderful notes, there's also the note of coconut, which just makes it delightful. Perfect for spring. So this next fragrance is from a brand that we all love. And this brand has a couple of fragrances that are really popular and exceptional, and that are definitely game changers. But this fragrance for me is one that I absolutely love. It's actually my favorite from this fragrance house. And I just don't understand why people don't talk more about it. And I'm speaking about MFK's 724. Now this is an incredible white florals fragrance. Oh my goodness. If you are into white florals and you want to welcome spring and just, oh my goodness, smell like spring itself, this is the fragrance. This is loaded with white florals, but they're not screechy. They won't give you a headache. They're done beautifully smooth, but you can clearly pick up on all the white florals. This is fresh, spicy. There's some woodiness here. There's quite a bit of aldehydes in here. This is sweet. There's some citrus notes in here. I tell you, it is just a delight. And for me, perfect for spring. Now, this next fragrance is one that I really shouldn't spend much time on because I actually have a dedicated review here on the channel for this fragrance, and I will link it right above here for you. But anytime that I get the opportunity to talk about this fragrance, I absolutely love to do so. This is a fragrance that you truly have to be an iris and violet fragrances lover. But this is truly, for me, the best iris and violet fragrance in my collection. And I am speaking about Santa Maria Novella L'Iris. This fragrance opens with a ton of iris. From the moment you sniff it, you pick up immediately on the iris, but at the same time, I pick up on the violet, and it is automatically powdery. It's like, it doesn't like wait till the olfactory journey is almost complete to come to a dry down of powderiness. For me, for my nose, I pick up on the powderiness from the first moment I sniff it. It is a musk-based fragrance that also is fresh, spicy, has quite a bit of citrus notes to it, and also has like an earthy quality. I just think this is perfection for spring. The next fragrance that I want to share with you is one that, yes, I did feature it in another video, and I absolutely love this fragrance. It's one of my favorite rose fragrances, and I highly recommend that you get your nose on it if you've never tried it. And it's from the incredible Rosendo Matteo, and this one is Sweet Rose. This next one is a designer fragrance that, of course, I've also featured here on the channel before because I think it is perfection, and it is still my favorite fragrance from this fragrance house. And I'm speaking about Chloe Nomad Jasmine Naturel Intense. This year there was the Egypt one, which I've also reviewed here on the channel, but just so you know, this one continues to be my favorite. This next one is from a brand that I absolutely love because of their intensity. To me, they're just so edgy. They create fragrances with notes that you actually have heard of in other fragrances and combinations that you may have even found in other fragrances. But the way that they approach the design of their fragrances is so unique. And I am speaking about Ramon Monegal's Flamenco. Now, flamenco is a fragrance that has so many angles to it. So let me tell you, flamenco is like if you combined a rose fragrance with a violet fragrance, with a fruity fragrance, with a green fragrance, and you put them all in a beautiful bottle. That is what flamenco is. And when I tell you, this is one of the most unique fragrances in my collection and absolutely exquisitely beautiful. This is also a fragrance that gets me a ton of compliments, and I think it is perfection for spring. This next fragrance is from a fragrance house, guys, that I just discovered last year. But from the moment I picked up the first fragrance, which I will be sharing with you as part of my summer fragrances, from the first moment that I sniffed that fragrance, I just knew that this was going to be a love with the fragrance house. And it has been that way because every fragrance that I've picked up, I'm absolutely in love with. And I'm speaking about Lorenzo Pazzaglia's, and for spring, I recommend Cherry Ink. Oh my goodness, guys. Just like the name says it, this fragrance, this is such a realistic cherry. And then that note of ink, I had never heard of the note of ink until I picked up this fragrance. Just absolutely unique, incredible. And when I tell you, all of the fragrances from this fragrance house are true powerhouses. So this next fragrance is for all of my tuberose lovers, like a radical tuberose lover, because I'm speaking about Tuberose Le Soir from Erin. This fragrance is absolutely incredible, guys. This is truly a tuberose fragrance. It opens with a ton of tuberose. There's no mistaking that this is a tuberose fragrance, so you really have to love tuberose in order to even get through the first sniff. But all in all, this fragrance is like a combination of white and yellow florals, but the dominant note here, from beginning to the end of the olfactory journey to any time that you wear this fragrance, you are going to get tuberose all day, every day. That's what you get with this fragrance. But it is truly beautiful and perfect for the spring season. So the next group of fragrances are fragrances that I've also featured here on the channel, either with a dedicated review or with a video where I actually gave you a detailed review of the fragrance. And the first one that I want to talk about is Tomavici Empyrean. Oh my goodness, for those of you that actually picked up this fragrance based on my recommendation and you have circled back to me telling me how much you love it, I have to tell you, I am not shocked at all, because my experience is that anything coming out of the Tomavici fragrance house is just perfection. This is a rose fragrance that is just so incredible. Oh my goodness. And the performance. But I will definitely try and link for you the video where I give you a detailed review. The next fragrance is a designer fragrance that I also have a dedicated review for on this channel. And I am absolutely loving this fragrance. And I am speaking about Viktor & Rolf's Flower Bomb Tiger Lily. The next fragrance that I want to share with you, and that I also recently just had on the channel, is Jean Paul Gaultier's La Belle Paradise Garden. Now this next fragrance, guys, is very, very special to me because this was actually a signature scent for several years. If I had a special occasion to go to or an outing, this was not the signature scent that I would take to the office. At the time, it was actually, for me, it was Xerjoff Richwood. But this fragrance, oh my goodness, guys, this fragrance is just so, so special. And I'm speaking about Bulgari, and this is Tigger. Now, I have a dedicated video where I review Sospiro's Vibrato. And in that video, I talk about this fragrance because I find that they are almost the same. To me, to my nose, it's like 90%, if not more, the same. But I was not mad at it because, as I said, I absolutely love this fragrance, and this is not very easy to find anymore. I really think Bulgari discontinued it, but they just don't want to tell us that they did. So I was very happy to find that Sospiro had released a fragrance that is almost the exact same profile. But anyway, absolutely love this fragrance. Let me know if you ever got your nose on Tigger. So the next two fragrances I've recently hauled here on the channel and given you quick reviews. So I'm going to make it rather quick. And the first one is the latest edition of Miss Dior, which is the 2024 edition. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance that I am really, really enjoying. And I've never been a Miss Dior fan, but there was just something about this one that pulled me in. So I ended up picking it up, and I really don't regret it. The next fragrance is one that I've also shared with you very recently here on the channel. And this is another 2024 launch, and I'm speaking about Marc Jacobs Wild Daisy. Now this fragrance, while it doesn't have the best of performances, I get maybe 6 hours if I really overspray, I am so in love with the scent of this fragrance that I'm okay with just carrying around a little decant or a little sample to respray myself, every 5 hours. But this fragrance is really, really beautiful. Let me know if you've gotten your nose on it or if you own it and how you feel about it. So those fragrances that I just shared are really all perfect for spring. But this next one, oh my goodness. So I just recently shared this one in a video where I was talking to you about the Joma Shop sale and my recommendations for the Joma Shop spring sale. And I am speaking about Kilian Roses on Ice. For all of you that are Kilian DNA lovers, have you ever tried this fragrance? Because this to me is just absolute perfection. This is not just a rose fragrance. This is so much more than that. This is just exquisitely done. I don't even know how they did it, because this really does smell like if you took some roses and put them on ice. You get that freshness, you get that like cold feel, which makes it to me just so beautifully perfect for spring. This is not about a dewy rose. No, this is about a rose that has been maybe kept at a florist in the refrigerator to make sure that it's preserved beautifully. And then you pull it out of that florist refrigerator or your refrigerator at home, and it smells just like this fragrance. This is just perfection for spring. Please let me know if you've gotten your nose on this fragrance and how you feel about it. And by the way, this is my favorite Kilian fragrance. Now this next fragrance, guys, when I tell you, I am absolutely obsessed with this fragrance house. There has not been one fragrance that I have either had a sample or a decant of, or that I've blind bought, that has disappointed me. So I am very careful not to go around sniffing their fragrances because I end up picking them up. But this next fragrance is just absolutely incredible. And it is definitely one of my favorites from the house. And for spring, this is spring perfection. And I am speaking about Whittian Vanillas. Now, I've talked about this fragrance here on the channel before, but I just had to bring it up again because if you've never tried to begin with any of the Whittian fragrances, I highly recommend that you do. And if you do have Whittian fragrances, then you know the magic and the spectacular beauty and uniqueness of their fragrances. It's like the quality of their ingredients is just out of this world. There is something so special about this fragrance house. But I can tell you that when it comes to vanilla specifically, this is spring perfection. In here, you're going to find notes of bergamot, some beautifully done lavender, and there is the smoothest oud ever in this fragrance, like absolutely incredible oud. There's also some patchouli, and there's some sandalwood, and there's a beautifully done geranium. This fragrance is one that if you've never gotten your nose on a Whittian fragrance, I highly recommend that you start with vanillas. But I absolutely love their fragrances. Others that I highly recommend from this house are Al-Wazal, Hilly, and Aswan. Oh my goodness, guys, you will thank me. But please make sure that you send for a sample or a decant because they are at a higher price point. Now, this next fragrance is from a collection that I don't think I've ever heard anybody here on YouTube talk about, but I absolutely love it. So about 2 years ago, we were in Thailand and we stayed at the flagship Aman hotel and spa. If you're not familiar with the Aman hotels, they are absolutely exquisite. They're designed to give you a very nature connected, is the best way that I can describe it. Nature connected slash spa slash relaxing. And as part of that trip, I did of course pick up several things, but I have to tell you, my favorite item is this fragrance. And I did pick up several of them, but this one to me is definitely spring in a bottle. And these fragrances are really done with exquisite ingredients, all very natural, because that's what the entire concept of Aman is about. So I am speaking about Haru from Aman. This fragrance, oh my goodness, guys. This fragrance is a beautiful musky fragrance. It's a bit lactonic, a bit green, but the green is just like a faint green. It's not that you have to love a green fragrance. The lactonic quality of the fragrance is also so smooth. This is very fresh and it has a beautiful powdery dry down. I really highly recommend that you try this fragrance. I really have the strong feeling that unless you don't like one of the notes, I really believe that you will end up falling in love with this fragrance. Basically, in this fragrance, you're just gonna open up with a beautiful apricot note. And you're almost immediately also going to pick up on the green tea. And at the base, you just get a beautiful blend of those notes like in a musk base. Just a very beautiful, smooth, fresh, incredible spring fragrance. The next two fragrances that I'm going to share with you are fragrances that I have discussed here on the channel, so I will be quick about it. And the first one that I want to bring to your attention is Unique Luxury Zengi. Oh my goodness, guys, this fragrance. Oh, have you ever gotten your nose on Zengi? I know a couple of you did pick it up based on my recommendations, and I know that you love it, but can you please let me know if you own this fragrance and how you feel about it. This is just magnificent, guys. This fragrance opens really like citrusy with some bergamot and grapefruit that I can clearly pick up. And then it has a very interesting note of red wine, which I don't think I have any other fragrance in my collection with the note of red wine. And curiously enough, my nose picks it up. There's also like some pink pepper, some amber quality, there's some vetiver, there's a beautifully done patchouli. But none of these notes are dominant. Everything is blended so exquisitely. But that is what I've come to love about the DNA of Unique Luxury. It's like all of their fragrances are done so beautifully and so nicely blended. Just a very smooth and elegant experience. Now this next fragrance I've also discussed before here, and I am speaking about Epico Will Be Love. Now this is a very beautiful gourmand type of fragrance that will transition you beautifully from spring into summer. This opens with quite a bit of caramel. Oh yeah, oh my goodness, but it is such a yummy caramel. There's also some citrus notes in here, and there's some coconut. It is obviously sweet. There's some vanilla. Just a beautiful fragrance that's going to not only make you smell really yummy and delicious, but is also going to get you quite a bit of compliments. The next three fragrances that I'm going to share with you are fragrances that I've featured here on the channel before. And I know that I keep saying that, but please keep in mind that these fragrances are my top picks by brand for spring. So at some point I must have mentioned them. But anyway, the next fragrance that I want to discuss with you is Chanel Beige. And this is my favorite Chanel fragrance of all time. To me, this is a classic, and this is a life fragrance for me. This is one that I don't see myself ever not having in my collection. This next fragrance is a fragrance, guys, that I absolutely love. It's in the same vein of Baby Cat, YSL's Baby Cat, and people tend to compare them. But to me, there are differences that allow me to have both fragrances in my collection and enjoy them. And one of the differences is that I feel that this fragrance is perfect for the spring season. And I'm speaking about Marc-Antoine Barrois, and this is Ganymede. So this next fragrance is a fragrance that, to be honest with you, it did take me a while to really fall in love with. I actually really struggled with this fragrance for quite a while. But then I don't know what happened. Something happened and I just completely ended up falling head over heels for it. So this fragrance is Dosita's Rosarine. Now, you may wonder, well, is this just another rose fragrance, lychee rose fragrance? And I'm here to tell you that it's not. This is such a different lychee rose fragrance. And I can tell you that the number of notes in this fragrance is just mind-boggling. I think that that's probably what I struggled with at the beginning, because typically if I can't determine what the olfactory journey may look like based on the notes that I pick up, it just really kind of frustrates me. In this fragrance, you're going to find, in addition to the rose and the lychee, there's bergamot, there's raspberry, which you pick up immediately. They don't really disclaim it, but I really pick up on oud. And the oud is not intense at all, so don't be afraid of that. But you are going to pick up on the oud. I don't think that the oud is so faint and so light that, that you're not going to pick up on it. But it is a beautifully done oud. I also pick up on some incense. There's definitely patchouli in here. There's some sandalwood. I tell you, there's just quite a number of notes, making this a beautiful fragrance. And most importantly, I think this is perfection for spring. I actually think this is the perfect fragrance to transition you from the winter months into spring. So this next fragrance is another fragrance that is exquisitely done, don't get me wrong, but there is such a level of complexity here. It's like you could go on peeling that onion all day long, because this fragrance has such an incredibly unique combination of different scent profiles. It's fruity, it's floral, it's a leather fragrance, but the leather is not dominant, but you can definitely pick up on a very smoothly done kind of leather. It's also a musky fragrance, and it's also lactonic. So you see what I mean? There's just such a combination of different scent profiles and of notes, of course, and tonalities. But I'm speaking about Dries Van Noten, and this is Fleur du Mal. Absolutely perfection for spring. And please do not be afraid of that leather note that I mentioned, because you are barely, if any, going to pick up on it. So this next fragrance is from a fragrance house that I absolutely love. And the fragrances that I typically love from this fragrance house are leather fragrances, because their entire leather fragrances range is just absolutely exquisite, and I just can't get enough of them. But this fragrance that I'm going to share with you is the one that I love to pull during the spring season, and it is not a fragrance that has leather. And I am speaking about Memo Paris, and this is Marfa. Marfa is a combination of like white and yellow florals, but dominant, extremely dominant to my nose is the Tuberose. This fragrance is also a bit green, has a bit of an animalic quality to it. My goodness, but this fragrance is just incredible, guys. There is an air of sophistication to this fragrance that I just can't explain, and it is true perfection for the entire spring season. So this next fragrance is from a fragrance house that is quite new to me and to my collection. I actually discovered it, I think it was at the beginning of 2023. But from that moment on, I have been on a roll with this one, because this fragrance house does exquisite fragrances. And this one that I'm going to share with you is one that I highly recommend that you get yourself a sample or a decant and try it, because I'd be curious to find one person that really does not like and appreciate this fragrance. And I am speaking about Reinvented, and this one is Sacred Bond. Now this fragrance, guys, oh my goodness. Ooh, this is absolutely incredible. This opens up quite fruity, but not like excessively fruity, because there's other notes that I pick up on in the opening immediately. And one of those is the vanilla. But the fruits in the opening to my nose are like raspberry, mandarin orange, some bergamot. And then you start to go into the beautiful florals. And you have those white florals that are really, really dominant at this stage, but they're not like heady or, too intense that they're going to give you a headache. But I clearly pick up on the gardenia, on the jasmine, and on some beautiful rose. It's like a young rose. At the same time, I'm also starting to pick up on like some saffron, and all of this with the vanilla in the background. But the vanilla at no point overpowers the rest of the fragrance. And another note that I clearly pick up on, not from the initial sniff, but just maybe a couple of minutes into really going into the body of the fragrance, is caramel. So, at the dry down, you're just going to get a beautiful fragrance with some vanilla, some florals, some fruitiness, and then that caramel, which sweetens the fragrance more and more until the dry down. But this is a fragrance that I highly recommend that you get your nose on, because when I tell you, I will be shocked if you don't love this fragrance almost immediately. Please let me know if you've tried this fragrance or if you own it. Now, I am going to go quickly through the next 3 fragrances if I can, because I keep saying that and then I keep stopping to talk about a fragrance, because I just absolutely love these fragrances, and I want to share with you why you should try and get your nose on them. But this next one is one that I've featured on the channel before and that I've discussed recently. And I'm speaking about Le Liquids Imaginaires, and this one is Dame Rosa. Absolutely perfect for spring. The next one is Blend Oud Toupee Love. Absolutely beautiful fragrance. I know that a couple of you picked it up based on my recommendation, and thank God you liked it. But please let me know if you own this fragrance and how you feel about it. I think this is one of those brands that really doesn't get the attention that it really deserves. This next one is another fragrance that I think is perfection for spring, and I'm speaking about Musique de Parfums, and this is Pianissimo. So these next three fragrances are designer fragrances that I really do enjoy. This first one is one that has quite a bit of mixed reviews, and I've never truly understood why, because I really do enjoy it. And I'm speaking about Prada Paradox. This fragrance I think is absolutely lovely. And this scent, oh my goodness, this is really beautiful. Please let me know if you too are a lover of Prada Paradox, because I just don't understand why some people really strongly dislike it. So this next fragrance is also from a designer, but when I tell you that I think this may be one of my favorite designer fragrances, if not my favorite designer fragrance. I actually went to pick up one of the siblings of this fragrance, which comes in a red bottle, but ended up picking up this one because I fell absolutely in love at first sniff, and I definitely had to have it in my collection. And I am speaking about Armani Privé's Vert Malachite. Oh my goodness, guys, this fragrance is everything. I mean, and talk about spring, this is definitely spring in a bottle. So to me, this is the most beautiful white and yellow florals fragrance that you could definitely have to enjoy during the spring season. This next one is a fragrance that I love to pull easily during the spring season. Like if I'm running an errand in the morning and I'm wearing some jeans and a shirt and some sneakers or some sandals and shorts, or I'm wearing like a sundress, any occasion where I'm casual, that's when I like to pull this fragrance. And I think it is absolutely lovely. And it does smell incredible, and I do get compliments with it. And I'm speaking about Dolce & Gabbana's Q. Now, this next fragrance is from a fragrance house that is highly regarded, very respected, and highly esteemed, and I think deservingly so. This fragrance is one that I reserve for very special occasions during the spring season, and I am speaking about Roja Dove's Enigma Oud. Oh my goodness, guys, if you've never gotten your nose on this fragrance, please do so. Not only is the bottle a beauty, but when I tell you that the beauty of this fragrance is just, oh my goodness, guys, this fragrance opens with quite a bit of powderiness, and it immediately introduces the note of rose. But this rose is like a bit sweet. It is just so beautiful. You literally feel like you're walking in a garden where most of the florals are rose bushes, and they're all just starting to bloom. This is sweet, fresh, spicy, has a good amount of vanilla, and there's a little bit of fruitiness also to it. All in all, this is just such a well-rounded fragrance that will also get you noticed and will get you compliments. People will want to know what is it that they're smelling on you, because this is just a masterpiece of a fragrance. So this next fragrance is actually the only bottle that I have from this fragrance house for no particular reason. It's just that I've never come around to ordering a discovery set from them. And I'm speaking about Gallagher Fragrances, and this one is Tonka Jour. Now this fragrance is so special because it has it has a note of blueberry that you're definitely going to pick up because it is so intense. The dominant note to my nose in this fragrance from beginning to end is that blueberry, but there's also like a bubbly, fizzy quality to it, courtesy of the note of champagne. There's also some black currant. There's some patchouli, but the patchouli is very smooth and very nicely done. There's some jasmine. There's a beautiful iris, and the iris does not make the fragrance too powdery, but at the dry down, I do get a touch of powderiness. But all in all, this is an incredibly beautiful and unique fragrance because that note of blueberry has been done in such a realistic way. I think you will really enjoy this for spring. This next fragrance is from a fragrance house that I don't hear people talk much about, and I think their fragrances are truly stellar. And this one happens to be one of my true favorites. And I'm speaking about Memoirs of a Perfume Collector, and this one is Tales from Zanzibar. This fragrance is a very fruity fragrance that also has a woodiness that is continuously in the backdrop of those fruits. There's also a champagne note in here, which gives it like, not a bubbly, but to my nose, it adds like a freshness. To my nose, this note of champagne doesn't make the fragrance bubbly, but it does add like a freshness to it. It is also sweet, but not too sweet. It has some florals, and it has a beautiful vanilla. There's also quite a bit of aldehydes in here. So if you're not into that, just know. But otherwise, this fragrance is just a beautiful fragrance for spring. This next fragrance is the last one that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And I am speaking about Mask Milano, and this is Reflection. This is a fragrance, guys, that I absolutely love and that is so unique in my collection. This fragrance really distinguishes itself from other fragrances where I find white florals and yellow florals because there's a beautiful note of honey and beeswax in here that is just done exquisitely. There's nothing like it in my collection. It is powdery, it is musky, there's a bit of an animalic quality to it. There's also quite a bit of citrus notes in here, which I can't distinguish what they are, but they're probably bergamot and lemon because the citrus notes give it quite a fresh spin. But when I tell you, this honey is done just incredibly beautiful. I don't know how they were able to make the fragrance like sweet, but really not sweet. I don't know how to explain it. It is just such a different kind of fragrance, but one that I think you will really enjoy for the spring season. All right, guys, so we've reached the end of today's video, and I really hope that although this was a long video, that you were actually able to enjoy it and hear about a couple of fragrances that maybe you hadn't heard of before, or that maybe you have heard of before, but that now you're really interested in getting your nose on. But anyway, guys, as usual, thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next video.